This is Andrew Klavan on the Culture, and it's time for a fresh edition of Klavan on the Culture's guide to the upcoming elections. So, here we are again, inside this small, gray, lonely, uncomfortable pamphlet, willing to endure this and other soul-crushing indignities to bring you the latest information that will help you decide whether to vote for some jackass Republican or merely to sit in a corner staring into the middle distance, mourning the destruction of the greatest political idea mankind has ever known. Or I think Dancing with the Stars is on that night too. That's also good. Last time, we provided a look at how the different political parties approach the economy, including some helpful tips on how long a family of four can survive without food, and informational graphs on how many government programs it takes to make a depression. Today, we turn our attention to the war on terror, or as the Democrats call it, that unidentified gunfire coming from over there somewhere against we don't know whom, because there's nothing wrong with Muslims, and if you say there is, one of them might kill you. According to Democrats, the war on terror began on September 11, 2001, when then-President George W. Bush destroyed the World Trade Center by screaming at it through a megaphone. Vice President Dick Cheney, meanwhile, assisted by detonating Rosie O'Donnell within.
This will be a day long remembered.
Democrats believe the perfidious Bush, although unable to pronounce the word perfidious, was nonetheless clever enough to use the destruction of the Twin Towers to his political advantage. First, he tricked Democrats into signing a bill giving him war powers by pretending they were just autographing a group photo of the annual congressional picnic. Then, he invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. Democrats feel the invasion of Afghanistan was justified because the 9/11 perpetrators were from Saudi Arabia, whereas the war in Iraq was wrong because it couldn't be won, and when it was won, wasn't, and when it still was somehow won by them. Democrats believe the root cause of the war is American Islamophobia, as evidenced by the fact that olive-skinned, bearded young men strapped with explosives find it difficult to hail a cab, and women dressed in burqas are repeatedly accosted by passers-by who give them Snickers bars and a few pennies for UNICEF. Democrats plan to win the war by making Muslims feel good about their contributions to society, like coffee and a second cup of coffee. That is good. The GOP sees the war differently. Republicans believe that 9/11 was caused by a fundamentalist branch of Islam. This was nurtured by Saudi Arabia and inflamed by the American military presence on Saudi soil, made necessary by the aggressive policies of Iraq's maniacal tyrant, Saddam Hussein. Bush invaded Afghanistan to push back the evil Taliban government that had given the terrorists their staging ground, then headed for Iraq to remove the troublesome Hussein, eliminate any possible weapons of mass destruction, and use that nation's substantial societal infrastructure to build a civilized bastion of democracy in the midst of a backward and oppressed region. Actually, that's not what Republicans believe. That's what I believe. Republicans believe that if a soldier wins the Congressional Medal of Honor, then turns out to be gay, he should be fired. Although since you can't ask him and he can't tell, the only way you could know he's gay is by sleeping with him, in which case you should be fired. Unless you're a congressman, then you just happen to be using two men's room stalls at the same time, and it's all a big mistake. Finally, there's the Tea Party, who have made it their mission to show that America is being governed by a pack of miscreants and buffoons. That's part 2 of our guide. This is Andrew Klavan on the Culture.